Hi there, now it's time to design the mainsail. As you know from earlier, if you have watched this channel, you've seen that I made a Günther mast, a sliding Günther mast. And now it's time to make the sail for that mast. Before I can design the sail, I do some preparations. I need some measures of the mast. And I find that I also want to extend the sail area. So I decide to make a head for the sail. A short head pin may work as a headboard and create a fat head appearance to the sail. Here I bend an electric installation pipe. And fit it to the masthead. I also need a secure handle for the tack and boom. So I make holes for the fitting and secure the handle. I plan to have a carabiner attachment for the boom, so that I can remove the boom when not sailing. After attaching the boom, I can measure out the boom, so that it do not interfere with the cockpit space too much. I cut it and drill a hole for the cleat. Now the design. First, I start with drawing all the hardware in scale on paper. The boom is 125 centimeters between the tack and cleave fittings. The lower part of the mast 105 cm. The overlap with the Günther 42 cm. The lower part of the Günther 84 cm, 42 without the overlap. The middle part of the Günther 42 cm. The upper part of the Günther 37 cm. The head 4 cm height in the mast direction and 15 cm length of the head in the boom direction. The second step is to draw the outer limits of the sail. The foot length is limited by the fittings for the cleave and tack. You need to reduce the foot by at least 2% to fit attachments. I reduce the foot with about 4% to 120 cm in length. Similar for the luff, you need space for fittings and cloth stretch. 1.5% is minimum, but I rather aim for 3% on this small sail. And decide to make the luff 220 cm. The head needs to fit with the head pin, and thus it stays 15 cm. The leech is just a straight line connecting the head and the cleave. 238 cm in my case. The third step is to draw the actual edge curves of the sail. Starting with the luff edge, I need to decide on the chamber ratio. This will contribute to the cloth extension I need to add to the front of the sail. But I also need to consider the mast band, as that will flatten the sail. Adding up the mast band and the addition from the chamber ratio, I calculate the distance to add at 3 positions in the sail. From an 8% chamber ratio, I need to add 2% of the cord length, and another 1% is added due to mast bend. Now I can draw a smooth luff curve from tack to head. The foot curve should have an appealing roach. About 1 to 3% of the foot. I choose a middle way, 2.4 cm. with the most roach at about 45% in from the luff. I draw a smooth foot curve. I want to extend the sail area with roach in the leech curve. 1 to 3% roach is the recommendation. To the smaller end, if you ask me, have a light boom and a soft cloth. To support the roach I need 3 batten points in the leech with the longest in the middle. Between the battens the leech should be hollow to reduce flutter. I take some risk here and make it straight for simplicity. Now I can draw the leech. The fourth step is to place the seams and panels. The seams are placed perpendicular to the leech to limit cloth stretch in this area. To support the battens, seams are placed just above. They are also placed between the battens to reduce flutter in the leech, and above reefing positions to support the weight of reef patches. Also in the foot, seams can be used to support roach. The rest of them are spaced in an appealing way. The fifth step is to calculate broad seams or tapers. The sixth step is to place the reefs. I have already done these steps now, and I can explain it all to you. I have drawn the foot curve and the luff curve and the leech curve. I placed the panels and the seams as I want them. I also include taper seams or broad seams to create the draft that I want to have, or the chamber that I want to have. The length of the forward tapers, the luff tapers, they should be from the luff up to the draft position. That is 45% in from the luff. And the width of the taper should be 1.4% of the length, except for this tack broad seam. It should actually reach the corner, but as I want to have a seam here, I want them to be equally spaced, and also I want them to support different parts of the sail. I move this up a little bit, but this one should be double the width that the others have. That's 2.8% of the length. So this is 1.4 centimeter wide at the front, at the luff end, and diminishing into nothing at the draft position. And this should be a little bit curved in the front to introduce the chamber. As this is really small measurements, I'm not sure that you will actually see or be able to make them shaped like that. Anyhow, so this is 1.4 centimeter, this is 0.7 centimeter, 0.6, 0.5, 0.3 and 0.2 centimeters wide tapers running in from the luff to the draft position. In the back end I have also placed some tapers, and I placed these to support the batten pockets. So I have a seam just above the batten pocket, and I have 3 batten pockets to get the roach that I want to have, or the roach that I can have on this kind of sail that I have made here. This batten pocket is 10 centimeter. It should be at least 3 times the length of the roach, and the roach is about a little bit more than 2 centimeters here. So it needs to be 8 centimeters, but I made it 10 because then I can have the same battens here, here and here, whereas here it needs to be 9 centimeters. So at least 9 centimeters. So it's not a problem to make the batten pockets a little bit longer than they need to be, but it's a big problem if you make them shorter, because then they won't support the roach. You also want to have the seam at the batten pocket to support the batten better, and you want to have a broad seam where you shorten the cloth in this end. And I made these the same thickness as I have in the front in order not to have a more closed exit than I have a front entry of the sail. Although the recommendation is that they should not be smaller than 0.6 centimeters wide. So I made this 0.2 centimeter because the front one is 0.2, and this is 0.3 because the front one is 0.3, and this is 0.4, although this is 0.5, and this is 0.6 as this is 0.6, and then the rest of them are 0.6 downwards. But they are not going that far into the sail from the leech end. They are only running 15 centimeter in from the leech all the way down here. So by placing them as I have done here, you will get support for the batten pocket, but also reduce flutter between the battens, and that's why I placed one seam in between the battens here as well. I also placed some darts in the foot, as I have a roach here in the foot. That also needs to be supported by broad seaming. And I only have one panel seam striking the foot. Of course I will use that in the foot. So I will make this 1 centimeter wide, diminishing to nothing at the draft position. But it's a really small, short distance. You can also support the roach in the foot by darts, and I placed 2 darts here. They should be placed 1/3 in from the luff and 1/2 in from the luff. But as I already have a seam here, I place this a little bit further aft. And they will be 1 centimeter diminishing into nothing. And the length will be 3 times the roach. My roach is 2.4 centimeters, so this will be 8-9 centimeters long. I also draw some patches, corner patches. They should at least be 3 in each corner. And on such a small day sail that I have here, I think it will be enough with 3 corner patches. And the largest corner patch should extend 10% into the edge that it is supporting. So this is about 12 centimeters, as this distance is 120 centimeters. The same on this side. When it comes to reef patches, they also need to extend about 10% of the side that they are supporting. So this is about 22 centimeters, the largest one, and then divided into 3 different sizes. So the same here and there and there. I place the seams to not only support the battens here, but also to support the reefing positions. So I have seams just above the reefing positions, as you can see here, and this is striking the reefing position, but I think that will be okay. On the top end of the sail, I also have put some patches into the sail to support headboard or head pin that I have in my case. I'm almost done. The only thing that I need to do now is space some eyelets in the luff, and I will put these about 20 centimeters apart. A normal Günther sail should have a throat, but I don't think I will do that. You see, this part of the mast is extending into the sail, but I will compensate for that with having longer attachment lines to the mast. By doing so, I get a simpler solution. I don't have to spend so much time making up a luff, which goes like this. And also, if the mast fails in some way and I want to replace it with one single mast, then I also have that possibility to use the same sail as I have made here, so it's more flexible. So this is the sail design that I made for the Günther sail. Perhaps next time I will start making it as well. I hope you liked this episode. If you want to watch some more sail making, I have this video for you. Hope to see you next time.